right, so we are back. Today we're talking about decimal fractions. We've talked about rounding decimal fractions. We've talked about understanding place value, writing them in expanded form, unit forms, standard form, to better understand that. Now we are going to dive into adding decimals. So let's get started. First things first, I'm going to do my place value chart. I'm going to show you why I like this so much. I think this is really makes it really easy when we're adding decimals, and it kind of eliminates a mistake that's pretty common. We'll talk about that too. All right, so here we go. First things first. Let's take 2/10 and 6/10. Let's try something really easy. So we have 2/10, right? There's a 2 and a 0, and then we have 6/10. So that means we have that. And one of the things I want to teach you is discs. Now, when we use disc in place value, it's a representation of the number. So it's just a picture, essentially. So since we have 2/10, we would draw 2 circles. We call them discs. And then since we have 6/10, we would draw 6 circles or discs. And that would be representative of the 6 and the 2. And so when we look at that, we can combine them and notice that we would have, how many would we have? Well, you simply just count them and you would have 8, right? So our answer now becomes 8/10, right? So if we're adding them, so now we have our standard way of writing it, right? It's 8/10. And what this is going to show us, and hopefully you recognize this, is that we've lined up the decimals, which is really important when we're adding decimal fractions. So that's super important, and it also just kind of sets it up, and it gives us a nice little visual to kind of show us how it works. So let's try another one. Here's 2 1s and 3 thousandths and 6 1s and 1 thousandth, right? And so here we want to say it and break it down. So we have 2 1s. We have 2 1s. And we have 3 thousandths. So what does that look like? We want 3 in the thousandths place, right? So we need the 2 zeros there to hold the place value of the thousandths, which is why that is written. If we wrote this in unit form, this is unit form right here, we can start to see and remember how it should look, because we should be able to go both ways. And then the way we write the second one is 6 1s and 1 thousandth, right? And if we go into our discs, we have 3 here, right? 1 here, we have 6 here, and we have 2 here. And then if we add them, 2 plus 6, we have 8, right? So 8, and here's our decimal. There's none here, and there's none here, right? So we're bringing nothing down. And if we add these together, 3 plus 1, or if we just want to look at the pattern, we get 4. So if we take these, we get this, and if we take these, we get this. So it's just a very simple visual. And then when we add it the standard way, right, which we have easily lined it up, and that is what is the most important part of adding decimal fractions, is we line it up with the decimal, right? So there's that last one. Now what happens if it's a little different, right? So let's try this one. We have 2/10 and 5 thousandths, right? And then we have 6 hundredths. So how is that going to look? Now, why don't we take the 2/10? Let's just put them in its place, right? Let's just draw them. I'm just going to do it this way this time. So I'm just going to draw my disc. So I have 2/10, 2 in the tenths place. I have 5 in the thousandths place, right? Here's 5 in the thousandths place. I'm thinking dice. That's why I draw it like that. So, and then we have 6 hundredths. We have 6 hundredths, right? So that means we have it right here, right? So we have 6 hundredths. So if we put them all together, right, notice nothing's going to overlap. We're going to have 2, 6, 5 is going to be our answer, right? And it's really quick. If we draw a picture, if that's how you want to do it, you can totally do that. It's showing our work, and it's really simple, and it's kind of fun to draw. So if we wrote that out, it would look like this. It's 6 hundredths. So there you go. line it up. Notice I added the 0. We didn't have to add the 0, but it just makes it way easier to kind of visualize this 0 right here. You don't need to add that at the end. It does not change the number if you do, though. So there you go. That is how you add decimal fractions. Pretty easy, pretty simple. And there's a couple ways that I showed you in there that'll help you kind of visualize it. And the one mistake that you don't want to make, right, is making sure that these are lined up. If they're not lined up, that's that mistake that I was talking about. You want to line these decimals up, and that's why it's fun to use that place value chart.